Greetings, everyone. My name is Dr. Joseph S. Fulmore Sr., and being a part of today is a very special and unique opportunity for all of us. As we had young people who have been engaged in conversation and around developing themselves and taking control of their lives. To me, this is first and foremost. Because if we're going to pass the torch on to our young people, we as a people, we got to either put it together or move aside. However, we're not going to do that. We're going to focus on positive energy and let that energy become the guiding light in which we are going to help each other in what we call saving our village. The proverb, saving our village, has been said and used in many different ways. The proverb in saving our village reflects and, of course, refers to all people coming together. But at the end of the day, we certainly need to take care of oneself, one's health, in order for us to be able to judge and frame our future. Again, to every participant who has come out this evening to be a part of saving the village around Public School number 6 and the city of Patterson. We thank you, we appreciate you, and we ask that let's not just talk. Let's put action into place. And on that note, thank you, God bless you, and have a good evening.
Educational outcomes, and the auditorium will be youth advocacy. So today, we certainly want to thank everybody for coming. This is not a spectator sport for this conference. This is a working conference where each of us are expected to participate and to be involved. So the workshops that we go into, we don't have all the answers, we don't have all the solutions. We're looking to have a conversation, and for us as a community, as a conference participants, to develop the items that will be coming out of the workshop, and you will be identifying a few items, one or two topics to bring back to the entire group to be a readout so that we have an action plan going forward. What are the things that we're going to do in the future to redeem and to improve the black condition in Patterson among ourselves? So do we understand that? We expect you to have a high level of participation within the group. We need to hear your ideas, your thoughts, the way you view things. And the one thing about an opinion, you can never be wrong if you're giving me your opinion. We can debate the facts, but your opinion is your opinion. And today, we want to hear from you, hear from your voices. And let me say, I want to thank all of you for coming out today on such a cold Saturday. To be here to discuss this, it tells me that you recognize the importance, and today I can see a mighty army bringing to us solutions for our city and our community. If we don't prepare ourselves today, Sister Wahida Muhammad, tomorrow we will be visitors and guests in our own country, in our own town, in our own community. We can't allow that to happen. So Patterson, let us stand up and be accounted and be accountable. So each of us now have those. Thank you. Thank you.
And many times, when you heard the city, our money is being given back from the federal government to the home program, our CDBG money. It's all because the faith base, smaller faith base, doesn't have the capacity to go after those grant monies. So alongside of a for-profit, we would probably be strong enough to do those kind of things. So I'm looking at how we can bridge that gap and compete with those nonprofits that have all the political connections. And everyone who's in passion know. I mean, I know not against NJCDC. I was on the board for 15 years. Their success. I know how they've done it. They have connections, and they partner with for-profits. So how do we take advantage of the opportunity we have with black businesses and these community development corporations to do the same thing?
My name is Mallory Earl, CEO and founder of Dreams Unlimited Foundation. I've been a nonprofit since 1999. I'm also a business and political consultant, and what Reverend Maven said is true as far as for-profits and nonprofits need to come together, faith-based and also service-oriented community organizations. One of the organizations he mentioned, which NJCDC, has been around for a while, has done a lot of things, but unfortunately, the core group is not going past. So they don't know our issues, they don't know how to fix our issues. We do. So we do need to do one thing that we spoke about a few months ago, have collaborations. Our slogan for Dreams Unlimited is collaboration is the key. That's what's going to open the door to success for many of our people, not just for us. So, my thing is, out of this group, I'm hoping that we can get on the same page, find some things that we can bring organizations together, bring our black businesses together so that we can form a coalition where we're supporting each other and we're supporting the community at the same time. And I think that would be key as far as moving us forward. And then once we have those collaborations, we can create those job opportunities for our people that needs it. We can then go to faith-based and we can say, well, this is training that our people need to bring them up to the point where they'll be employable. There's a lot of services that are given, but they're not targeted for our people. Our people, for some reason, we're far behind the 8 ball. We have others that are in front of us, and we need to get our standing back where we should be. So out of this, I'm hoping that we can all come together and find something that will move our community.
My name is Robert Parchment. I'm representing the conference as the business development part, along with Earl also. I grew up in Patterson. I went to school 10. I went to Eastside High School. I grew up right here on Fulton, between Graham and Carroll. When I was a kid, down the street was Minnie's grocery store. That was an elderly black woman. We watched her go from a little tiny store like this until she had a full-fledged luncheonette. And on luncheonette, one of her vacations, she went to California. She came back and she started serving her cheeseburgers with lettuce and tomatoes and mayonnaise. Everyone was in shock because we never saw that before. And she wasn't an educated woman from going to college and all that, but she was a very wise woman, and I watched her from a child grow her business until it was a luncheonette, and she also served groceries, but she also had a candy section for the kids. There was one body shop that we went to. That was Mr. Slate on the bottom of Fulton Place. When I lived on Fulton Place, the bottom of Fulton Place was a tenement, and it was Eastern Europeans who were employed at the factory. That part of Patterson wasn't even black at that time when we first moved in. There was a barbecue place that was on Carroll Street in Harrison, known for his barbecue. Graham Avenue was Joe Jackson's liquor store, where I would go, my mother would send me there to cash the checks that my dad would send. Today they call it child support. Back then it was like that was the check. So we would go there. There was a Muslim steak sandwich place on Graham Avenue and 12th Avenue. There was a record shop. The records started at 25 cents. Eventually they became $1. And they were able to support themselves. These were things that we were taught customarily because we were in a community where there was no going into the other community to get. When that changed is when our whole economical system started to collapse. The plumber that was known there, or the electrician that was known there, he worked for everybody in the neighborhood. My dad was a general contractor. He had his business in Harlem. And when he was in Harlem, my father was one of the first black union carpenters. He was from Jamaica. So a lot of the mindsets of we as black Americans through the taught from slavery, he didn't have. He came from the Caribbean, and they had a different mindset. So eventually he started his own business. He became a general contractor, a union contractor before civil rights, before Nixon did the great things. Most people don't know Nixon did some powerful things to empower our community. And he made it possible. So Harlem was basically the same way. So we had an economical system. We had multiple grocery stores where you knew the people in the grocery stores. When I used to walk down Graham Avenue as a little kid, they still had a bagel shop. Yeah. They still had real Jewish delis. That was all there, but there were other small businesses there as well. The barber shops were historically black-owned, second-generation barbers. So we were empowered as a people. When the 60s came after the riots, we got disenfranchised. When the government subsidies came in, they even pushed us further apart. When the financial support came from the government, they made it conditional, and we just continued to collapse. The value of education then compared to the value of education today. A simple TV show, let's take Urkel. Everyone laughs at Urkel. But Urkel was a genius, right? The other kid was a knucklehead. You knew he was doing bad in school, but he was a star. So we're just taught these values that we started to pick up on, and it's just put us in a very bad place. So the reason why I brought up the past was to show that what I experienced as a child watching black people in business. I knew from a kid that I was going to go in business because my dad was a business person. My uncle was a mason. He worked for himself. The other uncle was a plasterer before sheetrock. My brother-in-law was a plumber. My next door neighbor was an electrician. They all worked for themselves. So I had that type of foundation, and I'm very thankful for that. Now, when it comes to things that we discussed and agreed on that we need to start to bring change to in our community is, one, if you want to go into business, my personal belief is if you want to go into business, you decide whatever business it is that you want to go into, and you need to work for a company that's extremely successful at that. Why? So you can learn from them. Some people have the illusion that you can just set up shop and go into business. There's certain mistakes that you'll make, and you'll be out of business quicker than you went into business. So you need to work for someone that can cultivate you as a business person, learn from that experience, and then also become their best. Every company that I worked for always strived to be their best plumber. I never had to worry about getting laid off. I had one boss told me to show me the value that he had. He said, Robert, if I ever have to close my business down, I will hand you the key to lock the door. To me, that spoke volumes. But he also taught me a lot of things. I witnessed a lot of things. I didn't go to school for business. I learned business within the field. So there's certain mistakes I made because I didn't have that reference from the book side of the business. A lot of us are excellent tradespeople or skilled people, but we're not business people. There's a difference in the two. You can be the greatest singer in the world, but if you don't know how a contract the basic concept of a contract, or have a person in your team that understands that, if you don't think in those terms, you won't be able to make the best decision. My weak areas, I know what they are. I surround myself with people that are strong in those specific areas. First is loyalty. Whoever I work with, I want them to be loyal to me, because I'm going to show them my loyalty by giving them a job opportunity, by investing in them, and that should be expected back. If you're not getting that, it's a bad relationship. So, as a business person, you have to make sure you surround yourself with the correct people. Very important. Also working for the best to be the best. We as black people, we don't take advantage of all the resources that's available to us because a lot of times we don't know. We get together in a room like this. The reason why I ask everyone to say who they are, because everyone in this room should have heard one person state who they are and see how that fits into their puzzle. At least one person. A really sharp person probably walked away with 6 or 7 things already on who's in this room and how it's going to fit into the puzzle. I know you two are already connected. Most of you should have picked up. They're already connected. They can work on something. I'm sure they thought about Dan as well. So that's how business is conducted. It's developing relationships with the right people, utilizing them to further on what you want to do. I've had some of the greatest success and also experienced the greatest failures. My banner year, I made $8 million. Just a high school graduate. And I mean barely a high school graduate. But I had skills that some people that are smarter or maybe have more resources, but they didn't have the skills that I had. I've also experienced the lows of lows. I've had as many as 65 employees, and I've been as low as 1. That's how business is. Business comes in cycles. You have to be able to waver through. You have to make it through those difficult times because it's easy to make it through the successful times. So, and that's how it goes. You have to hold it together until you transition, make the correct decisions, the market changes, relationships change, and then move forward. So that's a part of the business experience. I personally believe we're not empowered the way we are is because we as business people, we don't support our politicians the way the political system works. The reality is they need funding to be elected. We have to find politicians that's going to support our ideas and to bring change in our community and then support them. We have to support them regardless of what the dollar amount is. They cannot do what we need them to do if their loyalties is not with us, it's with someone else. It's who supported them. That's just the way it's going to go. That's the way the system works. So we have to support them. And we have to make sure our agenda is their agenda. With our churches are not equipped to do what they need to do is because we as black people aren't supporting our churches the way we should. Our church is an organization that it has to have money to function. Where does it come from? It has to come from we the people. We have to empower our church. We have to be involved in our church. We have to connect with our church. We have to help push policies, decisions towards empowering our people. It has to happen. It's not happening the way it could happen, which can bring change. We all look at our city in its present condition and say, look how it's just tore up, it's beat down, it's busted, right? Well, the other way to look at it is it's poised to be rebuilt, okay? The monies are going to come. The properties are going to go back on tax roll. In our lifetime, or the next one, it's going to happen. So what do? We need to make sure that we're in the room when decisions are being made to how this is going to be rebuilt and make sure we're in the room. If you're not in the room, you have to make sure someone is in the room that represents us that has a full understanding of that whole process so we're included in that. Historically in Patterson, I'm going to say the last 30 years, we're not receiving, being a part of, and controlling the destiny of our town because we're not in control. We've given away the control. We vote on a popularity contest. We don't look at the politician and say, look, we need A, B, and C in our community. How do you plan to, or how can we plan to make it happen? And then work with that person to make it happen. And if they don't support, then we need to make sure people are registered. We're not voting. We don't vote in the numbers that we should be voting in. I believe all of us should be pushing someone in your family that's not registered to become a registered voter. We have to vote. Our numbers have to count. Patterson, we can change the election in Patterson with 2,000 votes. A couple of blocks in the whole city can change the face of the mayor election, which affects a minimum of 4 years. 2,000 people is not a lot. So yes, I believe it's not as complicated as we think it is. We can bring change. That's all a part of the empowerment. To make a fist, it takes multiple fingers to make a fist. So when it comes to figuring out what you want to be in business, working for the best person that you know and being their best person. Resources, talking to each other, discussing resources that are available. Supporting our churches, supporting politics. Labor. All the work that takes place in Patterson. The Board of Education is $600 million in funding. $600 million are spent. Okay? Everything. Straight across the board. I bet you if you go over those numbers and we look at how many black businesses are empowered from that $600 million, we'll be very upset. We're not pushing the Board of Education to hire local. Our school system, our entire school system, we should be running at $600 million. That's our money. That's our kids. You go to the Board of Education, it doesn't look like us at all. It doesn't look like us at all. That's our responsibility to bring those changes in. It's time for us to man up, start making some just difficult decisions, carve out some time, become active, and help empower our people. We need to start doing business with each other. The mall has killed any small business, not just us. We got to start looking at things and try to bring some changes to help empower each other. We got to hire each other. There's black businesses in Patterson that are making it not even off of people in Patterson. That's madness. We're not supporting our people, so why should anyone support us? We have to start looking at things from a different perspective. Every dollar counts. Every single dollar you have counts. And we need to start spending our money in a manner which support ourselves. I think we have a great opportunity in our town. If we could get all the churches to get together, if we could get our city council to get together and just make one or two common decisions and commitments and move forward. We got to get past being offended with each other. So many times we get together as a group, this person doesn't like that person doesn't like this person. We got to kill that noise. Yeah. It's the end goal that we're looking for, to work together as black business owners. That has to be the focus of it all. The way we change things. There were multimillionaires in slavery. During slavery, black people became business owners, property owners, plantation owners. Right. Unfortunately, even blacks owned slaves. Mm-hmm. It was all about business. So we are more empowered today than we've ever been as a people. But we're less empowered, the most is now, because of not supporting our school system the way it's supposed to be, not holding politicians accountable for what they should be doing, but also putting them in a position to do so, not working with nonprofit organizations and collaborating to figure out how we can make a difference. One of my pet peeves right now is we have 1,200 empty homes. 1,200 empty homes, 1,200 pieces of property. If you say to buy the property and to build on the property, if you just say it was $100,000 for one piece of property to purchase and build, times 1,000, that's $100 million. We're not even in position to get the jobs or the contracts because we haven't empowered ourselves through our political relationships as well as labor relationships. We have to start taking a different perspective and do something different. The definition of insanity is do the same thing, expect different results. I didn't even put that on the wall, but when I walked in the door, I hit the floor. Because it's like, we want change, but we don't want to change. We want the system to change for us. They're not going to change the rules for us. So we have to make some changes. Just like water. You pour water into whatever type of vessel it takes to shape up. So in a way that we have to make positive change within our community is by bringing change. This conference is the first conference. That's great. It's a stepping stone. The work starts tomorrow. Each person in here should hopefully establish a relationship with someone in here where you can see it connect. That was the purpose of everyone stating what type of work that they do. So, and we can depend on ourselves to bring change. We need to change our community. I live on East 38th Street all day during the summer. I watch white folks drive by all day long. They're looking at them homes. The canine thieves are out. If Patterson makes the transition and change, they're coming back in, just like they did in Harlem. My business is on 145th in between 11th Avenue and Broad. When I built my business, I hired the local crackheads to mix the concrete so they could see it was 12 inches thick on the windows that was cemented up. So I wouldn't have any nonsense. They know how thick it is. I let them mix the concrete, put it in place, was there. When I first moved there, the drug activity on that block was insane. Now I'm at 132nd and Broadway. I moved maybe four years ago. But 145th Street, the neighborhood has changed. White women, white babies down the stroller, getting on the subway. We didn't own the buildings that were in our community. Now we can't afford them. I remember when those buildings, $10, $15, $20, $30,000, $50,000, you get a brownstone. Today, one came for sale. I called one of my friends. They offered $700,000 for a building that had to be completely renovated. The seller didn't accept it. 700 grand. And it had to be completely renovated. We lost that community. We literally lost that community. 125th Street, 124th, 126th was rezoned by the former mayor. They could put 40-story buildings up now. 40 stories on 125th Street. Go through the neighborhoods. One of my friends has developed a property on 116th Street. It's probably, I don't know, maybe 200-300 units. But I remember 116th Street was just heroin alley. You wouldn't even stop to change the tire. You drive until you got to a place else where you could get out your car. Well, our city is no different than that. It's poised for greatness. But we got to start working together. We got to stop being offended. We get so offended by each other for nonsense, and we don't accomplish what we need to do. We have to work together as people and develop our businesses. I know I said a lot. I'm trying to stick to the script, but these are things that I personally believe that we can bring change to, where we can benefit as a community. Small businesses. A store, open a store. But before you open a store, you got to do your research. Whatever business you want to go into, you got to do your research. You have to speak to experts in that field. Get advice. Make sure you're surrounded by people that know what you're doing. So that's the majority of the topics. It was the political side, the role of our church, and how we play a role in our church, nonprofits, how we can utilize and benefit from having nonprofits in our community, the development of small businesses and supporting small businesses, any type of business, carpet cleaning, electrician, plumber, carpenters. So now we can open it up for, like say, a discussion where folks can ask.
New people came in. Can you just hear it?
Yes. Just so the new folks that came in, everyone here kind of introduce themselves and what type of work that they do in their area of expertise. Robert, you want to go first?
My name is Robert Belmont, and I'm a local business developer in the city of Patterson. I started in 2001. Tax grants, lower loans, especially housing. We're in the process of doing quite a bit outside of Patterson. We have more in Patterson as well. But we built 14 homes since 2008 in the neighborhood. All of them sold but one, but we're good.
That's great.
Russell Grady, owner of Mr. T. John at 10th Avenue, 18th Street. Been in Patterson for many years, and I saw change after change after change. I do recognize right now we're at a point where we better stand up and be counted, doesn't have to be lost. All right?
Maurice Moore, just stopping this to get an airflow so I can, follow myself.
The young man next to you.
Ray Sean, our DJ.
Okay. You came late, but the man standing next to you is a legendary DJ from when we were your age.
Hold it. Speak for yourself.
I know. Actually, you're older than me, Dan. You, sir?
My name is Rick Alonzo. I have actually owned several businesses from Essex County. I'm looking to build up Irvington to go in there and help out. So I just want to get some ideas of how you're doing it here.
Left out one thing. I also do office cleaning. Doing office cleaning for over 30 years, and I go by Maurice Moore's Cleaning Service. Thank you.
And you, sir?
I'm Bilal Hakeem. I'm a community organizer, and my profession is our program development coordinator.
So that just shows you, I always like to do that because you never know who's in the room with you, what their specialties are, and the resources that, or business relationships you can develop. And I'm excited because 2 of my neighbors are here, and maybe 2 more neighbors are outside. So that's my block as well represented, East 38th Street. But business development it can be difficult and challenging at times, but it can also be rewarding. Committing yourself to your business. If you just want to work 9 to 5, then business may not be for you. It takes long hours. It takes commitment. It takes sacrifices, and also supporting family. I watched families where a successful business and then ruin their family because of the demands of it. So that it has its challenges. But anyway, I'm just excited that we can collectively get together and discuss some of these topics. Any one of them that you'd like to speak on, feel free.
I want to ask everyone in the room a couple of definitions, a couple words. Does everyone know gentrification? If anyone doesn't know what that means, could you raise your hand?
What was it again?
Gentrification. Okay.
Explain that to me.
Tell us what it is.
Gentrification, Robert could touch on it a little bit. If you look at Jersey City, let me use that for example. Downtown Jersey City used to be a slum. It used to be torn up. Now if you go and look in Jersey City, downtown, they have high-rises. They have what is called a TIP, tax incremental finance district, where now it's a city within a city. And that city within a city is not affordable for the residents that are there. So the residents that are there are slowly being pushed out of Jersey City because they're making a transient community. Several years ago, I was part of a conversation where they're looking to do the same thing here in Patterson. So for us, as native Pattersonians, we're being priced out the market. Many of us that are on the lower end of the pay grade can't afford apartments. So now they're being forced to move back south. How is that a problem for us? We're losing representation in the north. The mindset of the south, they're gaining more representation. And for us as black people, that's not good. That's not good. Market value. I'm sure everybody heard about market value rent, affordable housing. Do you know the formulation for affordable housing? Affordable housing is, we're in a market with Bergen County and Passaic County. Bergen County is one of the richest counties counties in the United States. So our market value is going to be high. Our affordable housing is going to be high just because of the market that we're in. So when someone says, oh, we're going to build affordable housing, it's affordable, but it may not be affordable to you and your family, me and my family. So who's going to afford those homes? Those that they bring into our city. So if we don't do anything about it, educate each other on what the process, how the process is, and how it's being done to us, then we're going to fall apart, no matter what we do. Knowledge is the key, as well as collaboration. If you know what you're doing, you can open a door and you can walk through it, and you can be successful at what you do. If you have the right group of people around you, you're not going to fail, because as soon as you start to slip, someone is going to grab you. Hey, brother, let me help you out. Hey, watch out for that situation. Let me protect you and shield you. And if we don't do that with each other, we're lost. We are lost. Unfortunately, I have a lot of clients that I speak with that I wish would come here. These are young men that are out on the streets. Many of them find that there's no hope for them. They feel despair. Talk about going to business. I don't know anything about business. I can't run a business. I have no education. What do you do to run a business? And when I talk to them, I say, well, are you good with math? No, I'm not good with math. I hate math. Okay, well, how are you making profits? Then I ask them to break down what you're doing. And when they break it down, I said, well, you know, that's almost a business plan that you're talking about right now. So if you can apply it to this, why can't you apply it to the real world? And many of them, what it is they don't have the direction. They don't have that big brother to say, hey, let me help you out. Let me show you. They don't have that person that's their brother keeper. They have someone there that's influencing them down the wrong path, showing them what they think is love, but it's not true love. If we truly loved each other, we wouldn't shoot each other. We wouldn't harm each other. We wouldn't break into each other's homes. We would be there to help each other. Someone's house burned down, we will all be there to help them to reclaim their lives. If someone, family member passes away, we will be there. Here's food for you. Here's something for your need. That's what I remember as a child growing up in the CCP. Whenever something happened, we all came together. Now we're so scattered, and we have a mindset that, like you said, through TV, through programming, we're separated. And we're just continuing to dilute. And if we continue to dilute, there will be none of us left. So one thing I'm hoping out of this conference, that we can get a direction, that we can find a way to touch those young gentlemen and young women and say, hey, you can be a business owner. You have the skills. Even though someone is telling you you're nothing, you're something. You come from kings and queens. You came from those who ruled this earth for many millennia. You have a past. Now, let's work on your future. And until that happens, we're going to spin our tires and go nowhere.
Dan?
Well, you know what? For me, I really see the black market, African American market, as a really, really good opportunity for business people. And I really think we need to talk like that. So, for example, I mean, everybody knows we got problems. But, you know, every community has problems. I bet if we sat in a room with all Italians, they'd say, look, here's the 37 things gone wrong. Right. But you know what? We represent, like, for instance, there's a lot of money in this room here, especially you, Ray, and Robert. So, I mean, so anyway, so I'm saying what I would like to see happen, like you mentioned, getting with students. For example, like I got a program now that we just started. I started with Rotary doing volunteer work. And I'm working with, instead of working, most people want to work with all the cream kids. Mm-hmm. And I'm working with kids that are in the justice system. So if anybody's open to doing, say you want to reach kids, and you want to reach kids or students, you see me before you leave, I'll get your information, and I'll get you connected, and you can talk directly to some of these kids here. That's number one. But what I would really like to see, and I believe we could do it in this room here, is we know all the problems. Is if we could just maybe say, okay, here's 3 things that we'll commit to make something happen. So, I mean, is anybody prepared to do that besides me? Okay. So, like, we got a lot of collective brain power here. So, what do you think the 3 things should be? So, I'm just opening them up, and let's take it from talk to here's what we're going to do, that kind of stuff like that. So, if I may.
I'd like to ask a question before we do that. The African American Chamber of Commerce, they used to have that. Is that still functioning?
That's us, sir.
I'm asking, who is it? And
That's us.
Functioning?
It's a state. There's a statewide organization called the African American Chamber.
No, we have one here in Patterson. That's the one he's referring to. That's us.
Yeah.
And we get ready.
Who is that?
Well, Dan, you was part, right?
That was back
Back in that, yeah. Me and Dan was in it. I think there's only 2 in here.
It's not functioning now. That's all
Reverend Gribbins.
There was talk of restarting it again.
Well, that's what I would propose is number 1. Let's get into
that's
that.
what
Until
we're
we
in the
can find a way to
process of
organize
doing it.
ourselves, we can't even talk because we're not a group. So my first suggestion is let's agree to reassemble, reestablish, or whatever the African American Chamber of Commerce, Patterson.
Let me. How many of us are members of the NAACP? Okay, so I just joined this week. All right, I just joined this week. I said to myself a couple of months back, because I wasn't involved in anything in Patterson. I've always worked in New York. Rather tell you, I get in my truck, I go to New York, and I come back home. But then I'm looking at my city and I'm seeing the condition of it that it's in, and I said I had to get involved. So if you're not a member, in your packet there is a membership application. So if you want to make that one of the things you can do is to join the organization so you can be a part of an organization that can bring change in our community. We would need to take existing structures that exist and start to direct them to what we need done. But the only way you can do that is by being a member. So certain organizations, religious organizations, we need to be a part of. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's structures that exist already that we need to be a part of and be active members, not just you paid your dues and you're done. We have to become active. Change only happens when people become active. The 2 gentlemen that sat in the back, everyone here kind of introduced themselves and what they do. You guys came in late. You want to say who you are?
Good morning, afternoon, I don't know what time it is, family. I'm Brother Jack Muhammad from Nation of Islam. By trade, I work for Verizon.
I'm Brother Roosevelt Muhammad, Nation of Islam. By trade, I'm in security. Most people know about that.
So you said one point was...
Okay, so I wrote down 3 things, but I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do, but it says the African American Chamber of Commerce, NAACP, and then I mentioned as far as getting students out of the program called Village Elders Program.
Mentoring
and mentoring and working with students that are in the system.
All right, we're passing around a book. We need to connect. The purpose of you giving up your name, your telephone number, and email address is so we can gather all this information. And with today's technology, you can also do e-blasts and stuff like that to bring out certain things. Because we need to be able to be a people that can be called at a moment's notice to do some certain things. That may be to protest, that may be to look at a particular topic that, say, has to be voted on the city council, and it's not in our best interest. We need to be able to communicate with each other quickly, and then we need to go down to the city council meeting. And if you have to wait an hour or 2 hours, you got to give up something to get something. There's certain things that take place in the city council. We as residents and taxpayers of the city, we're not involved, so things go on that you may not want to happen. But we're not there. We need to get involved. So that's the purpose of that going around. So if you can fill that up, that would be great.
Okay, I have a child. I can't finish college. I can't finish high school. I can't get a job. I have to take care of these kids. No. You can do whatever you set your mind to doing. You have to know how to speak to your parents about whatever is on your mind. You don't understand how much we as parents need to hear from you. And at times, I know like situations happen, our life challenges may come to affect us somewhat, but never be afraid to speak to us, to let us know what is going on with you. Because we are your first defense as your parents, before anybody else has access to you. This is what we are here for. So no, speak your mind. If you have something that you want to do it. If the crowd want to run and do whatever, you don't have to do what the crowd do. And let me give you a prime example. It may sound silly, but I used to tell my kids, I don't care if you go somewhere and these people are cursing, drinking, smoking 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You will not do it. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it, because I will not allow you to be a statistic. I will not allow you to be like everybody else. I want better for you. Trust me, your parents want better for you, but you have to want better for yourself. Just because you see a cycle of single mothers, anything like that, that doesn't mean that when you have children that you have to follow that. Keep in mind that what you would want to do is, okay, my mom wasn't there, or maybe my dad wasn't there. When I start having kids, I'm going to make sure that I am there. I'm going to make sure that I make a difference. This is how you start to break the cycle. Don't be afraid to try something new. It may be silly to other people, but it can mean the world to you. Stay true to your heart and don't lose that focus.
Thank you. Thank you. Communicate with the accountability amongst ourselves, right? So if your neighbor sees you doing something that was negative, they are accountable to our community to correct you. And the Bible talks about correction. A son that refuses his father's instruction is surely a fool. Meaning that correction is for your own good. If someone sees you doing something negative, whether they're your mother, you ain't my mama, you ain't my father, should never come out of your mouth. Because we are saving our village, and I'm responsible for everyone in this room. That's right. So if there's something negative that I see you portraying, because sometimes we're a little bit misguided, sometimes we get off focus, and we need someone who cares about us to say, baby, that's not the right way. You were introduced to this band by your cousin that lives next door. Okay. Neighbors. Self-love, I'm going to write that right beside self-value. Okay. Love, and I'm going to put that in a box. Even though it can't be put in a box, but I just want people's eyes to go. If we have another color, have a seat, baby. Awesome, you're writing your name. Very good, Winter. Encouraging our young people when they do anything helps them inhabit self-love and value. One second. Oh, do you want to add to this track that we're going on with the? Okay.
Really, with gangs, I grew up in Chicago, Milwaukee.
Okay.
I've seen it all. Been in it, but I wasn't of it. So you can be an outcast with the in crowd. So you can still be yourself and still hang with someone who has a mindset of violent behavior. And it's all about who you're listening to. Because I had gangs over there, drug dealers, pimps, but I have my auntie or my neighbors. Like, you got in trouble in school, you can't come over here. So our communities has been bashed or been banished. So we don't have any self-accountability at all. And I'm not talking about the youth. With the youth, all you have to do is say, you're a good artist, you can draw, you can wear your hair like that. You're not embarrassing me in public because that's you. You can eat healthy, like healthy. Our nutritionists at the lower tier, and people know that. We on medication, we on Pop-Tarts, soda, sugar.
Perpetuating not to take care of your body because it
They go
doesn't mean
right into school. Hyperactivity, go run 6 field, which actually children aren't even supposed to be doing that. They're supposed to be moving because they're learning how to operate their bodies anyway. So if you really want to get down to it, the children, we have to learn from them. And that's what my program is based on, learning from youth.
Awesome. No, I can add to that. You're gonna add, okay? Because I don't want to get away from that track, because I think that when we get back here, they want to know from us, what do we think will solve the problem? We only touch on one part of the issue, and that's leading us and giving us, because the fact of the matter is, all of these issues are based on a model. All of our issues that we face, gang violence, distant homes, broken homes, poverty, all of the issues that we see in Patterson are based on the same type of model. So we're going to use this approach, because we can't do everything in an hour and a half, right? We're going to use this as our model to present, but we also want to make sure at the end of the day we provide a solution.
And I'm pleased to say that we had some very open and honest conversations in many of the workshops, which is what we needed to have in our community. And I also ask that no one takes anything that was said personally, because it ain't about you. It's about us, our children and our children's children. There are some evaluation forms available. We ask that you fill out the forms. We'd like to give a special shout out to Donna Nelson-Ivy, who typed up the forms for us. Once again, this is a team effort. We appreciate all the work. We appreciate the work of our young people who help with the service and the food. We also appreciate the folks who prepared the food. And we all know that there's one rule of feeding a group of people. You gotta feed them. Y'all don't agree with that. Next time we ain't gonna feed you then.
Good afternoon. I'm just thankful to be a part of a very historical event in the city of Patterson. I've been here since 1963, went to school 10, Eastside High School. Went to school 10, I went to Eastside High School as well. So, in the business development, we discussed the components that's necessary to create your own business as an entrepreneur. We also discussed the importance of creating jobs. Our people need jobs. We need jobs to bring change to our financial condition, as well as our family and our community. We also discussed resources. There was a lot of discussion about resources that are available for people to go into business, as well as resources to assist people who are already in business. So I learned from that one myself. We also discussed the importance of supporting our politicians, where we have to work collectively together and support the people who we elect. We need to hold them accountable, but also we need to support them so they can have the resources that they need in order to win an election. We also discussed our churches or religious institutes, why it's so important for us to support our churches and religious institutes, and how they also can support the people, their congregation, in trying to go into business or also finding resources that's available in business. We also discussed the role of nonprofit organizations, which I also learned a lot from that today as well. I was unaware of some of the things that nonprofits can't do and things that they can do and resources that are available to them. And also the importance for forming strategic partnerships with nonprofit organizations as well as profit organizations. I thought that was awesome as well. And then labor. Our city is poised to be rebuilt. If you look at all the properties that in their present condition, we need to also look at how we can strategically place ourselves
in a position where we can create jobs, contract opportunities for small businesses, and create job opportunities for our people. Our last item was, which Mike Jackson is working on, is a list of black-owned businesses in Patterson. I saw a statistic earlier this week where it said there were 304 black businesses in Patterson. I don't know about that, but we all need to know where these businesses are, the services that they provide, and the importance of us as a people doing business with each other. We spend our dollars on a daily basis. We need to start to look at ways of when we can recirculate the money in our community. I'm a plumber, this other person's an electrician, beauty parlor, barbershop, carpenter. We have to start looking at our community and say, who can we go to? Who can we do business with? Restaurant owners. There's all types of services and professions. We took a survey of the people that was in our room, and not one service or business was, for the most part, duplicated. Everyone there had a different gifting and calling and ability to do something. And we need to start looking at each other and the businesses and services that we can provide to our community, to recirculate the money in our community. We have control over our money, and we need to start to look at ways of how we spend our money, who we spend our money with, and create jobs. That's the only way we're going to create jobs and help business grow, if we start to make a conscious effort to do that. And that's only possible by we the people start to make commitments and conscious decisions to support one another. So we had a great time today. We had a pretty good attendance. We had a lot of discussion. We had people that have been in business for over 50 years and some who are looking forward into going into business. I was really encouraged. I'm happy to be a part of this. We will report after the fact, after we do a debriefing as a conference, try to get people connected, put together an action plan, and move forward, and to bring change in our city. I believe we can do it collectively, and it's all possible through us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parchment. Very informative. And ladies and gentlemen, I think it's going to be extremely helpful, and I believe the organizers have given this some thought, that we're going to put these findings in a written form and come out with a publication, and whether that publication is available online or through the traditional print media, so you can go back to it, reread it, but more importantly, take a look at the action plan to see where we are in accomplishing those goals and objectives. I want to take a few moments just to give a special shout out and to acknowledge some key individuals here, such as Charlotte Jefferson Rucker. Let's give her a round of applause. Working hard. Kari Nation. Right. Miss Kathy Morgan. Miss Ada Boo. Deborah Rucker, and Ernestine Pooh Bellman. These are dynamic women, and as my council colleague Ruby Cotton has found reminded us, along with Marissa Nava, that the women seem to always be stepping up and taking on the burden and doing the job. I'm sorry? Oh, Carol Pooh? Q. Carol Q. My apologies. Missed that one. So men, we're going to have to begin to do our part, because we know throughout history, if not for strong black women, we wouldn't be where we are today. And I'm getting rather exhausted of Councilwoman Cotton and Dallas saying that we're not stepping up and they got to handle everything. not going to mention Wahida Muhammad. She gets mentioned all the time. Let's give Miss Wahida Muhammad a round of applause. We're next going to invite up to the podium Councilman William McCoy, the real McCoy, to report out on political accountability. Aaron Nation. Am I missing anyone else? Francis Harrison. Debbie Baker. Brenda McCoy. And I want everybody to know, Brent Nation gave me this list.
And we want to give a shout out to Donna Nelson Ivy in the back, Director of Human Services, great organizer and strategist, and a very bright young lady. We appreciate her today. We have the political accountability piece, and there was certainly a lot of information that was discussed, a lot of things that came out of that. We were very engaging, and we had to distill it down to an action item. So as we discussed the stats and looked at it, I don't know how many people realize, but there are more independent registered voters than any other category in the county of Passaic County and in Patterson as well. So as we go out, sometimes we focus on the Dems and the Republicans, but they're more independent than any other category combined. Patterson is a large voting bloc, and we need to begin to express our political muscle on a countywide level to make sure that we're getting the services that we need. People say this and that about politics, but politics control everything from the birth certificate to the death certificate. From the cradle to the grave, you're going to have to deal with that, and we need to be a part of that process. We were charged with coming up with an action plan. What it is that we're going to do tomorrow, leaving this conference, what other things that we need to work on. And my magic marker ran out of ink. We were putting down so many great ideas, so I couldn't clean this list up for you. I know somebody's going to say that chicken scratch that they have up there, but it's not the writing, it's the focus and the agenda. One is to come up with a comprehensive voter registration plan. A comprehensive voter registration plan. And what it is, I like to go back to the old Marty Barnes 3-foot rule. If you come within 3 feet of somebody, you ought to talk to them about whether or not they're a registered voter and getting them registered. In order to have voter participation, you have to have been registered. So voter registration is key. We also talked about looking at the vote by mail process. Vote by mail process. So many of our folks don't participate because of many, many reasons. They're infirm or they just forgot. They're at college. And the new rules is not absentee ballot anymore. There doesn't have to be any given reason why you vote by mail. You just have that opportunity to vote by mail. And we need to be aware of that and to ensure voter participation, utilize that mechanism that has been given to us to get that done. We started with a long discussion about voter education. Voter education, why we vote, how we vote, why it's important for us to vote. The folks have fought and died for us to have a right to vote. And then somebody mentioned it's not just voter education, it's voter re-education. Because we have a lot of voters who are registered voters and not participating. We have some 67 or 76,000 registered voters in the city of Patterson. Yet in an election, you find a very small fraction of that actually go out and vote. 20,000, 22,000 people that actually participate, when our registered voters is way above that. So we need a great voter education and re-education plan, and that has to be done at a grassroots level, small groups, small communities, individuals, one-on-one relationship to build that voter education. The other piece to that is vote your interest. Vote your interest. Now somebody said, how do we do that collectively as a group? We have a collective agenda and a collective mission, and then we can identify that and evaluate a candidate relative to our interests, and we vote our interests and make sure that that happens. The last one is candidate debate. And it may seem like an odd piece to put in there, but what the folks were saying, too often we rely on somebody else to host the debate and to bring the candidates together. We need to do that ourselves, bring the candidates to us, and hold them accountable to share with us their platform so we have a better foundation and basis on which to vote our interests. By quizzing and questioning the candidates, now you know truly what their commitment is. You heard the councilman mention that if folks understand our issues, our concerns, then we can hold them accountable to support that effort going forward because they agree with the agenda that we have come up with. So that is the piece that we came through with political accountability. And I want to thank Reverend Kuykendall for assisting me, and he did a very great job. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening. Councilman.
Thank you, Councilman McCoy. I also want to mention we have a gentleman out there by the name of Wesley McCoy, I believe, Jr., who is involved in weight training, weight loss, health and wellness, and sports performance. We also have Candace Miller, Heber, the Organo Club Gold, and she's had tea and coffee and organic stuff that's healthy for the body, so might want to visit that table also. And please, ladies and gentlemen, if you permit me, once again, I just want to give a shout out to our sponsors of this event, because without them, you know, things like this would be that much more difficult to do. We have the proud men of Alpha Phi Alpha. Let's give them a round of applause. We have probably one of the largest black-owned businesses in the city of Patterson, with a beautiful establishment, Jacksonville, Mike Jackson. We also have another black-owned business who's always been out and willing to help us in the community, John B. Houston of Houston Funeral. Once again, another black-owned business, JC Printing. And then we also have helping sponsor us, Shafiq Pharmacy in the South Patterson area. Mr. G's. Now, many of you don't know, but Mr. G's been around for a very long time. I mean, but that was back in the days when we had all the small restaurants, like on 12th Avenue. We had Jackson's on 12th Avenue, Brady's, Mr. G's, and all that other stuff. And I tell you, it was those businesses, those black-owned businesses that were responsible for putting food on many of our tables. And I'm not just talking about going out and buying. I'm talking about by hiring our mothers and our sisters. You know, my mother was a waitress, and I'm proud to say that, in Brady's and also in Jackson. And the reason I'm proud to say that because, you know, she was raised in the 7th of us on her own, like many strong black African-American women have to do. And after she got finished cleaning someone else's house, she went and waited tables. But she was willing to do that to ensure that we had food in our bellies and a roof over our head. And so I'm proud of her for her willingness to do that, and I love her just as much. But more importantly, I'm thankful to those black-owned businesses back then who gave our women and some of our young men the opportunity. Our next presenter, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be on educational outcomes, and that's my good friend, Commissioner Earl Clark.
Let me congratulate the organizers of this wonderful event. This is just a start, and we should not be too down on ourselves because of the numbers. We should make a note of what happened in the workshop and what will happen after we leave here this evening. We were tasked with looking at the educational outcome piece of the conference. And we tried in our workshop to kind of put a handle on what education is about. So many times we believe education starts and ends in the four corners of the classroom. But from what we discussed this morning, education carries a wider scope than just the classroom. Education is not only learning about academics. Education is also learning about technical things, things that we can do with our hands. And education also carries over into the realm of values and attitudes. And this is the piece that I would just like to spend just a few minutes and talk to you about. Values and attitudes. Because that underpins most of what the other part of education is built around. We ask ourselves in passing, is education a valued commodity? You need to answer that this evening. Now, if education is a valued commodity, then in our judgment, it would be pursued with all the vigor and energy that we have as a community. But that is not happening. We look at our cities. Every corner of our city there is a liquor store. Why so? Because we allow it to happen. It's the poison that kills our fathers, kills our brothers, kills our uncles, but we never push back because we believe it's okay. So fighting against these things are not valuable. Pursuing education is not what we embrace as a valuable piece of real estate. So, how do we combat all of these things? We have to change our approach to these things. We look at our language, arts in school. We look at math in our schools, and we realize that as part of that composite, our black men are performing at the lowest rank. Is that a concern for you? Or should it be a concern of me? I say yes, it should be. But what are we doing about it? We are not doing anything. Well, we developed a solution to some of these things. And I know that the solution could not be presented here and now in a way that we will all grasp it, because time will not permit it to happen. But we look at some broad outlines, what we can do, and what we should be doing in the coming days or weeks and months. We must address the whole question of whether we should put our eggs in one basket of pursuing pure academics, I almost say economics, or should we place equal emphasis on technical pursuit, such as, we mentioned in the workshop a motor car. if you should lift the hood of a motor car and you look inside there, it's a very complex thing underneath that hood. It does not take an ordinary person to understand how it functions. It's very difficult. Certainly, I don't think I have the brain to honestly figure it out. But you have kids in our midst who are well endowed mentally to figure it out and have that understanding. So why do we push them into areas where they do not perform well? When if we had just said to them, here's another option, and we encourage them, they would be better people. We look at electrical engineering. Instead of being, Ken Morris, we can develop kids who have electrical powers, who is able to go out and make good living, good money from what they do. So I think we need to start looking how we structure our education. If we need to have a technical school here that will address that problem, you, our community, should now be talking about it, should be encouraging the district to make it happen. So we talked about a parent council. We need parent council. Now, I think it was established that in every school in Patterson, at least that's what I understood it to be, every one of our schools in Patterson should have a working PTO. That information could be developed at that level and move through our district. We do not have that. We need to be doing that, and that's part of our recommendation. We need to have parent academies. A lot of our kids in Patterson are mothers and fathers themselves. They just barely reach 15 or 16. And they're having babies. They can hardly care for themselves. They're having babies. We need to address some of those issues also going forward. We also need to have conversation with the pastoral fraternity of our community. These are issues that we need to sit down with the pastors, talk to them in broad terms, what we can do to address some of these issues. We also need to establish a watchdog body that will engage themselves purely in education. So that group will educate themselves concerning the ills that beset us as a community. And they will do white papers concerning how we can best address some of those issues. And then we'll take it from there, and in special created conferences, we will address some of those problems at those levels. So basically, in broad terms, that's what we discussed, and we are hoping that when we move from here, we'll be able to put all of this in readable form, in more detailed form, and those of you who are willing will be able to have something that we can use going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Carl. Officer. And keeping in line with the workshop on education, on March the 11th, I believe it's at 6:30, there's going to be a joint meeting between the Patterson City Council and the Board of Education to discuss the funding cuts to education. It's an extremely important conversation. If you're not in the council chambers, you need to be tuning in for this conversation because it's critically important when we talk about the education of our children, that the money is there. This governor has cut significant amount of money to reach his $4 billion budget, and all those cuts are on those programs that adversely impact our communities. And also to that end, I'm appreciative of the young folks who are here. I'm appreciative of the young folks who are here in this conversation. But as we begin to do this again next year, I'm going to encourage the organizers to really organize events specifically for our young people, particularly our young boys. And it's going to be the responsibility of each adult to bring a minimum of 2 young people with them. And I know we can do it because when we had Mike Adams down there at Center City Mall, that place was packed with adults, with young people. And if we can do that to show our appreciation for our folks who are in sports, which is important, we have to encourage people on every level, we can do it for events like this. So next year, put it on your calendar when the organizers announce the event. Minimum of 2 young people. They don't even have to be yours. They could be somebody else's. But bring them with you. But the men, if you don't have male children of your own, if you know of a young woman in your community who's doing her best to raise a male child, you bring her children. So they know the importance of being men, and they're around good men. And to that end, that leads us right into our next conversation with Mr. Matthew McCoy, a dynamic young man on youth advocacy. Mr. McCoy. There's 2 McCoys coming up. Well, wait a minute, man. Yeah, right. Brother. Grab the mic. I should let him go first. Your sister gave me permission.
Indeed. Thank you, Councilman Morris. Let's give a round of applause for Councilman Moore, the handsome and attractive young man he is. Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a pleasure to be here. On behalf of the youth of Patterson, we come to strategize and develop resources and opportunities and options for our young men and women in the city of Patterson. I believe that we had the best workshop today. If you had the opportunity to sit in and listen to the intelligent minds and the conversation that we had, we have a registered nurse in the back, a pharmacy student, and she said at that age she doesn't remember, having that type of engagement, conversation, and critical thinking that we dialogue with these young people. It was phenomenal. There's so many things that I will touch on, but I'm going to be very brief. There are some young people that I'm going to allow to speak as soon as I'm finished. But this group of young people here at this school, public school number 6, I'm completely amazed with them. I want to tell them that you're going to be awesome. You're going to be the future leaders of this city and this nation. And we're excited about what you're doing, and we're going to support you. We're going to get you the resources and the tools that you need to be successful and lead successful lives. Before I leave, before I take my seat, I would be remiss if I did not make acknowledgments. I was at the public library about a week ago. And I listened to Mr. Smallwood, he's in the audience now, and I listened to him speak. He was awarded a humanitarian community activist award. And instead of him taking that award and speaking about the accolades that he has achieved in life, he took the opportunity in that platform to speak and acknowledge and highlight his father. And he spoke about the sacrifices and the things that his father has experienced and endured in order for him to be the gentleman that we see today. And I think that if anything that I could do that's meaningful in life, I have to acknowledge the people that has instilled what I am today in me. My dad and my mom is here. These people have given me every opportunity. They have given me every opportunity at life. They haven't always had the financial stability and the different opportunities, but they always told me, if you go to school, get an education, and do what's right, you can be whoever you want to be, and you can be as successful as you want to be in life. So, Mom and Dad, thank you for what you have done. I love you, and I appreciate you. One other person that I have to acknowledge before I sit down is a gentleman that at a young age saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. At 14 years old, I was confronted, just like some of these young men and women here, with gangs and different negative people and groups in the community. But there was a gentleman by the name of Dr. Joseph Fulmore. Yeah. He took time out of his busy schedule. I believe at the time he was assistant superintendent of schools of the district. And every Sunday, I believe, at around 4 or 5 p.m., he would take us into a classroom on the right side of this auditorium here. And he would sit down with a group of troubled young men. Young men that were actually destined to die. There's a statistic that says, let me just read this for you. You got to hear this. We live in the most incarcerated country in the world. There are more than, what is it? They say there are more black men under correctional control today than were under slavery in the 1850s.
Wow.
And when I tell you that I owe a lot of my success or whatever I am today to this gentleman, and for him imparting in me different values through the Alpha Teen program, which you see their sponsor here. He formed a program that reached back and impacted lives, and I'm here today because of him. We went on tours, to different colleges, HBCUs. We went to Martin Luther King's first home. This gentleman took time out of his life to educate a generation of young men. And I believe most of us that came through his program have gone on to lead successful and impactful lives in our community and are trying to make a difference. So I want you all to give a round of applause to Dr. Fulmore. He did. Today, along with many others. We are going to acknowledge one more gentleman, and I'm gonna have my guy come up really quick, and then our young group is gonna speak. They have powerful stuff to say. He's gonna do a little quick piece as well.
How you doing? Good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Thompson. I have a nonprofit that's in the city's public schools. It's Halls That Inspire. Some of you guys may be familiar with it. This is a beautiful thing. This is something that I think should be done more on a more often basis. Maybe not even as an annual thing, but maybe as a quarterly thing. This kind of drive toward healing takes a lot of effort. Even though we're in an environment that has limited resources and we have to have the drive and the desire to go out and seek out these resources to help heal our city. The most important resource that we have, that we need to really protect, is our youth.
That's right.
That is what we are about. We are solely about our young folks. Without them, all of us that are looking at these days and retiring, they're going to be the decision makers, and trust me, a lot of us tend to make decisions on emotions. They will remember how some of us may have turned our backs on them. So we want to be able to pull together. This is the God's honest truth. We want to be able to pull together and let them know that we care. Their voice matters. Their thought processes matters. We want them to engage in the process of healing this city. So on behalf of myself, Matt, his crew, the organizers, we took the liberty to go around the entire population, the people that came today, and we want to give this back to the organizers. All the signatures are here on the initial participation of this event, and we hope that this event becomes more regular than not. Awesome. Mr. Ernest Governor and Mr. Brent Nation.
These are the organizers of this conference, and we definitely want to let them know that we appreciate the hours. I mean, I've been on the phone hours that I should have never been on the phone with these gentlemen, and they have sacrificed, along with everybody that's here. Everybody that's in this room has sacrificed and brought something to this organization and to this program, and this is just a seed that has been planted. And we're going to watch this thing grow as we fund it and contribute our time and our energy. It's going to make a tremendous impact. I'm going to call up a young woman that is a rising star in the city of Patterson, and she's going to give a brief comment and introduction of our young people. This is Tiffany McCoy, engineer graduate from NJIT. Give her a round of applause. All right.
Our group's action was to come up with strategies, that would help heal our city. We had a group of young people, dynamic young people, that spoke powerfully, passionately, and articulately about what our issues are. And we began our session by speaking. First thing we did was identify a single issue that we saw in our community. Our 11-year-old Hosea, I believe his name was. Josue. I'm sorry. He presented gangs and violence as the most prominent or the most influential issue that he saw as an 11-year-old boy. And from that, we began to have all of this dialogue. What we did notice was that there was a model and there was a system as to how these issues affect us, how they develop, how they are solved. So we came up with a model of whatever issue. Let's think, if we were saying gang violence, if we were saying drugs, if we were saying pollution, whatever the issue was, this model is how we were going to try to critically think about it, identify it, and to solve it. So we said, first things first, we're going to speak on it. We talked about gang violence, all the negative effects, malnutrition, shooting, killing, weapons, drugs, bullying, and threats. And we talked about the negative aspects of what gun violence presents. Then we thought, on the flip side, what could be positively perceived about a gang? Right? Is there anything, why are they so prevalent? There must be something that in our minds that affects our condition, why we feel that gangs are so worthwhile. And we talked about the unity, family, community, and moral values that a gang might resemble, but not necessarily perpetuate. Then we went into all of the spiritual intents that came with, and actual outcomes that it came with. So we talked about what they think that they're getting from a gang, and what they actually are getting. And we had our young people giving us so much feedback that it was amazing. Then we said, we are going to speak on it, we're going to talk about it, now let's fix it. So we asked them, what can we do to fix this issue? And we had them throw out so many things. Stop shooting fulfill basic needs of poverty and educational awareness, critical thinking skills. A young boy, what was our little MVP's name? I think his name, he was Savion's, if somebody knows Savion, he goes to the school, his cousins. Pardon?
Tanai.
Tanai, how can I forget Tanai? Tanai was 9 years old, and Tanai gave us so much input about healing our city and fixing our issues. And he said young people should give speeches to each other about why things are negative and why things are wrong. And that was his solution as to fixing it. We all talked about negative music, showing that we care, being responsible people of influence, and returning home to Patterson when you have already left. And Tanai also said that we need to be dream chasers. We need to go into the streets. His initiative was that each of us should go into the streets and ask someone what their dreams are. What do they dream about? And to implore them to pursue those. We went through a variety of things. How do we motivate parents? Creating your own jobs, replacing TV with books and thinking, and communicating, having respect, changing our mindsets and our cultural awareness, having teachers not be babysitters anymore, but to become discerners and healers for our children. We talked about so much, and our young people provided us with solutions. We asked them to come up with 3 solutions, tangible solutions of what they thought would be fixes for this, and we came up with 3. Number one was a community cleanup initiative. Number 2 was a citywide youth ministry. And number 3 was a arts concert, a citywide arts concert. What I'm going to do is ask 3 of our young people to speak on that. One of our, I can't find him, but I believe his name is Lawrence. Is Lawrence here? Lawrence, as we speak, if you could just run up here, the Community Cleanup Initiative is something that one of the young people thought would be a great way to fix our issue as far as gun violence. And we had someone right in our group by the name of Lawrence who is launching the 7 million pickup this April, collecting cans to build a better future right here in Patterson. So this was one of the things that we plugged right in. We said, okay, we have an issue. We're looking for solutions, we'll have dialogue, and we're plugging a solution right into our strategy as to how to fix that. So that was number 1. Number 2 was a citywide youth ministry. Our friend Donald talked about that, and I want to give him a chance to articulate what he thought his vision was for the citywide youth ministry.
I thought it would be good for people who are young to come together and talk about their problems, for people who probably went through them, or see people who went through them, who can give them advice, who can be guided away from the streets. Show that there's a place that they can come to for help, some advice, some support, other than the streets.
Yeah. Awesome. And with that said, we also had another initiative with Ms. Loretta McIntosh. They presented this as a children evangelism ministry that they've already jump-started. So that's something we plugged right into number 2 as something that we will promote, get more information on, and get it out to our young people so that they can already get involved. We might not have all of the answers right now, but they can immediately get involved with these 2 initiatives. And the last thing we had as a fix to gun violence and drugs was an arts concert, a citywide arts concert. I'm going to give Star an opportunity to talk about how her creativity and arts was a healer for her situation, and we'll conclude with that.
It wasn't necessarily my idea, but it does touch the heart because I am a person who neglects talent. I do have several talents that I neglect and not show, and the last thing I would want is for God to strip me of those talents because I neglected to use them. But having something of a sort where people who are afraid to express themselves, especially when it comes to talent, whether it be a sport or just something educational, especially literature, because that's one of my strong points, it will be great for the community to have something that will motivate our young ones, especially the youth, since that is the strongest point in the community, to express these given talents that God was nice enough to give us as youth and teenagers and stuff. I myself I've entered in countless numbers of drawing competitions and won 5th place in national worldwide in one of the competitions. But like I said before, I neglect talents, and if I was to one day wake up and be stripped of that talent, I just pray that God give it to someone who would use them better than myself, and hopefully the community can wake up and see the talents that us as black people have, and that we can't express them because no one gives us a chance or our voices aren't loud enough to be reached. And that's all I can say is just, I hope so.
This session was awesome. It was empowering. We had a lot more that we could have talked about, but in the interest of time, this is what we're presenting. We're asking that if you have, like Mr. Morris and a couple of the other speakers talked about, you have young people around you, reach out to them, point them in the right direction, teach them that they are this generation, they're our future, and we need them, we're depending on them. So thank you for your time, thank you for your
I'm going to give our moderator a minute. Okay. Did you guys enjoy that piece from Youth Advocacy? Patterson has extraordinary talent. Youth here in this town are very resilient. They go through what kids in Wayne don't have to experience on a day-to-day basis, and they rise above that, and they shine in arts, and athletics, and different areas of their life. We need to galvanize them. They are the future. This is what this whole program is about. We don't have a generation to pass on to our ability, our resources, and what we have amassed. We're going to do ourselves a disservice, and I think that they have really came out today and showed us that they want our support, they're asking for our support. And I believe that next year when we come back to this conference, we can present them and show the successes and the accomplishments that they have reached based on all of you coming together and giving them all of the resources that they're asking for and that they need. So let's do that.
Okay, my name is Alvira Spencer. I was born and raised in Patterson, and I am a product of the Patterson Public School System. My undergraduate degree is in psychology and women and gender studies. I also have a social work degree and a certification in domestic violence. So first I want to thank the organizers for having me here to talk about Black women issues, which is a very sensitive topic. So the way we started our workshop was we started out with an icebreaker. So what we did with our icebreaker was we went around the room, we had every woman say their name and what it was about Patterson that they liked. And I did that for a reason. And my reason was because everything else we spoke about was going to be an issue. So I wanted to build off the strength first and then switch it over into whatever issues we had. So what we did was we came up with a list as an icebreaker, just to get acquainted with everybody. It was more like a family environment, because that's how I like to do stuff. So us women sat here, everybody participated, and we made it like a little family where everybody felt comfortable sharing their thoughts. So we started out with this, and this was some of the things that we came up with. Then we switched gears, and then we went into our women issues. So the reason why I set my workshop up this way is because in social work school, we usually use circles. And what it does is it gravitates people and it captures their attention. So that's why we set it up like this. So what we did was identify all the issues that majority of the women said in the room, and there was a few of us who had the same issues. So what we did was we kind of just put it up at the top. So some are our issues, and a lot of the issues are based on women's perception of the issues that they have in their life. And that's usually how us women come up with our issues. And for me, I kept saying domestic violence because I have a certification, and as well as a domestic violence survivor. So my issue was domestic violence, but some of the other issues for women here was drugs, equal opportunity, fitness and nutrition. Somebody spoke about housing, Child care was our issue. Support system. Parenting is always an issue for women. Domestic violence, we had incest in the home, and then we had social education, and then somebody also mentioned life insurance. So this was the way how we started out our workshop, and it was a way where I was able to engage everybody. Because everybody participated, everybody's remarks was important, and it made them want to participate even more. So then what we did was, everybody sat at their prospective tables, and I told them to come up with one topic per table that they thought would be a good topic for us to elaborate on. Gave them 60 seconds, and before you knew it, we had came up with a topic. And the topic we chose was the social education, and some of the other things on the other circle we were able to bracket under social education because it kind of was overlapping, and we can fit it in there and work through that. So, since social education was our topic, our goal is to enhance the social education among our younger generation. Our timeline is going to be a work in progress, and our next committee meeting will be on March 30, 2015 at 6 o'clock p.m. to 7:30 at the Patterson Library, and we will be joining the Women Empowerment Group to finish our plan. And in closing, I want to thank all the women who participated. And no offense to Little McCoy, but I think we had the best workshop. I think we had the best workshop. We did. We had the best one. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Councilwoman Ruby Cotton, and I tell you, I was happy to be part of this Save the Village Black Issues conditioning that we have. I think that it was a very good turnout today, and what I would like to say to people is that please be involved. One thing I understand is that we can no longer sit back and wait for someone else to do things for us. We have to stand up and do it for ourselves. There's a lot of issues here that were presented, and I think that we're going to be able to work it out with our community to help out with some of the things that are happening. We want to be sitting at the table when you do decide to make major issues and make major changes in our city. Just remember one thing, the African American community spends a lot of money, I don't know, in the trillions. So that's why we need to be brought to the table for all decision making that goes on into our city. And once again, I'm happy to be part of this. As an African American representative sitting on the city council here in the city of Patterson, I enjoy doing what I do because, like I say, at the end of the day, I represent all people. When they call at the end of the day, I do not know who's on the other end of that line of the phone that's calling me for help or for advice or just trying to show them the right directions that they need to go in. So once again, thank you for all the community support that came out, all the children that came out, all our adults, all our teacher, our schools, and I can say that School 6 was the perfect place to have this convention. It's in the heart of the city. It's in the heart of the 4th Ward. So I'm thrilled to be part of this, and I'm happy to been invited to be part of this. Thank you so very much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Good afternoon. What a magnificent day this has proven to be. My name is Donna Nelson-Ivy. I am the Director of the Department of Health and Human Services, and I wear that hat all the time, 24/7, and people know it throughout the city of Patterson. However, today I'm a citizen. Today I'm a resident. Today I'm a black citizen of Patterson, and this has been magnificent. I am a latecomer, if you will, in terms of joining the Black Issues Conference Committee, but nonetheless, I helped. I assist with some organizational pieces, and I serve a lot in terms of the backup. It's very important. I also bring the message of the mayor. I brought surveys. I brought our Department of Health and Human Services information, as well as his hotline cards, because it's important to connect to all people. Black people, Hispanic, Latino, our Arabic community, and Middle Eastern community. It is important that we all connect, but when we have our own conferences based on who we are in terms of our ethnicity, our nationalities, that's a good thing because it brings us together in terms of unification. This was a beautiful day, a beautiful experience. I am so glad that I was a part of it. And I am thankful to God that we live in Patterson. We live in a city that's going to make a difference in our Passaic County as well as our state of New Jersey. We all need to come together and unify, regardless of what we look like. But this was a magnificent day for the Black people of the city of Patterson. Thank you so much.
To summarize very briefly what took place or transpired today, to me, it's the beginning of an end and an end of a beginning. But I think more importantly, it is about people coming together, sharing ideas and their experiences in order for us to format and craft a process in moving forward. Today was an extremely rewarding and emotional and inspiring day. To see people from all walks of life, but more than that, but to see people from this community, the 4th Ward, the city of Patterson, come together to identify through their experiences again what it is that they would like to see take place in the future of our community. You know, we always talk about our community and what we are going to do. It's about making plans and putting strategies together to execute and implement that which we hope to be able to pass on as a torch to our young people. So I say to our community that have been here today and those of you who I'm sure that may have a chance to view this, we hope that you would not sit back. Come and be involved. Because if we are going to make a change, the change must be done together. It's okay to disagree. In order to truly disagree, it certainly is going to help us to agree upon a common goal that will be the footwork and the foundation upon which we continue to build our community, to build our future. So with that being said, good luck, God bless you, and let us all be great and be the very best that we can be. Thank you.
Good evening. This conference has been a success. We have mobilized our people. We have got them to have discussions. Our workshops included educational outcomes, political accountability, economic empowerment, women's affairs, and Black youth advocacy. I want to reach out to the persons out there. We need to continue the discussions that were started here today. Each workshop presenter will present to the General Conference 3 identified main areas with deliverables and assigned organization. We need to continue the work started. There is no room for complacency. We will be reporting back on a quarterly basis through the contact list that we have, and we'll be updating persons on our progress. To all organizations who did not participate this time, we want you to listen to the feedback of the community. We encourage you to engage us as we update and monitor the information that has been disseminated. And we encourage you to work together with us as we try to make an impact in our community. Too many times, because of division and egos, we have failed to help our community. We have failed to do the necessary things. I implore you that you will join us at the next conference next year. And I also implore you to reach out to us as I'll be reaching out to you to ensure that we have open communication. I'd like to thank all the sponsors that have supported this conference. Schiefer Pharmacy, Leneves. Also like to thank Wesley McCoy, Team Hope. I'd also like to thank others, many, many others who have participated in this. Mr. John Corey for the Democratic Party. I also like to thank Mr. Karnenko of the Republican Party for his contribution. Today has been a success, and I want us all now to look towards the future. I pray and I hope that this will be the first step in a long journey, and that in this time, we'll be making change in the community. Thank you.
My name is Jason Williams. I'm 18 years old and I attend Passaic County Community College. And surprisingly, attending this event, I expected there just to be a lot of talk and nothing to happen. A lot of the events that I've been to, as that's all it's been. It's been a one-time thing and no type of follow-up. But here, I feel like there's going to be some type of follow-up that will actually help affect my community, especially. The fourth ward is the biggest ward in Patterson, the most crime-ridden, and quite frankly, I think some of these, even the kids, are going to be the big leaders in leading that change in my community. And I feel like if I never attend this event, I'd probably never know about it.
My name is Yosmiri Rodriguez. I attend Rutgers University and I'm 20 years old. Today I attended this event with my friend here. And we came here as Halls That Inspire, which is a nonprofit organization. And it's basically to raise awareness to kids and make them paint their dreams. So attending this was very important because I got to see the different perspective of kids today. And I saw this 9-year-old that just talked about chasing your dreams, and it's just, I came here for that reason. I came here to be motivated, and that's basically it.
Hello, my name is John B. Houston, and I'm the owner of the John B. Houston Funeral Home. And it's our pleasure to be one of the sponsors of the Black Condition Conference here in Patterson, New Jersey. Everyone's excited about their experiences today, and we hope that we continue to serve this community and look forward to serving you in your time of need.
And I'm Jada Fulmore, born and raised in Patterson, now serving my community as funeral director for John B. Houston Funeral Home here in Patterson. I am also excited to be here and look forward to more conferences and the community getting together and taking action. Thank you.
My name is LaQuay Jewell. I'm the owner of Dansby Consulting and BlackNJ.com. I'm here supporting the Black Condition Conference. I think it is something that Patterson is well overdue for having, and I wish them great success on this first event.
When you come to the conference, this conference today was a complete success. Every workshop that was presented, the presenters were excellent. They did exactly what was needed. The youth workshop was, in my opinion, the best. It was the most effective. There was so much participation. It was hard to believe. I did pop in and out of all 5 workshops, and if I had to take my choice as to which one was the most productive, it would be the youth workshop. But I'm hoping that everyone who did attend this conference actually got something that they can take out with them. And the one point I want to stress more than anything else is, let it be known this is not the end. This is just the beginning of the Save the Village movement, which is going to continue on. If we want to see a better Patterson, we want to see better communities, we want to see more unity in our black community, this is the start of it right here.